So yeah, hi, I am Manasa, co-founder of Mudra Magic. As promised, we are bringing you stories of inspired women here as a part of Stories with MN. So our guest today is Shreya Krishna. She is a CSR specialist, a dancer, poet, a blogger, and many other such things she does in her daily. I don't know how she fits it in 24 hours, but we'll move on. So we are proud to bring you her a glimpse into her thoughts and stories. So let's go to Shreya. Hi, Shreya.
Hi, Mansa. Lovely to be chatting with you. How are you?
Good, doing good. A bit on and off, but pretty much good. How
Yeah,
are
I
you
know.
doing?
I'm okay too. I think it is a world tragedy. It's probably the first time that the whole world has been unified in something as drastic, as humongous as a problem as such. The economies are hit, people are hit, jobs are hit, health is hit. So I think it's one of those things where there is a collective consciousness that has been impacted massively. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually been a surprise to almost all of the world at once, and it hit so fast that it's still people are still having tough time dealing with it and having their heads around it, both inside the house, inside the confinements, and also out in the world. So,
Yeah.
any thoughts as to how post-COVID our world is becoming, how we can be a bit more conscious than we usually are as the whole race itself?
That is true because there is enough theory and there is enough history and there is enough science to prove that our massive capitalist lifestyles that we all end up having, and the world, the way it adopts, everything fast, everything quick, depleting resources the way we do, are all reasons for where we are today. So I think um, while these are difficult times, while there are people who don't have meals, who are not getting daily wages, whose families, there have been deaths, whose families are far away, whose loved ones are not around, while there is all of that imminent tragedy that is coming out of the situation we're in, I think it's also time to look back, reflect, and think on what it is that needs to change, because this cannot go on. uh, you know there have
Yeah.
been indicators in the past that have been ignored, but like climate change has been ignored. I think this was when everybody was ignoring climate change. This is, I think, a more bigger wake up call, because this is impacting you personally. So I think it's very, very crucial for us to look within, to look at lifestyles, to look at sustainability, to look at all of these things with a new lens, to help each other out, to support humanity, and other beings on this planet, because this planet doesn't belong only to us. We share it with a lot of other species and other things. So it's important to look at what it is that we can do collectively for each other and for the rest of the planet. I think it's time to reflect on all of this and more.
Yeah, and interestingly, if you see the social media posts by people, they seem more content now just with the basic living. They are happy with the family, playing games, reliving childhood, and in general, if you see on an average, people are happier with these small things.
So also there is a trend, right? It's we're all social beings. Right now, at the beginning or at the start, is when, also let's remember that we sit in privilege, because remember that we have nothing to think about. If we had to go for 3 months without work, without money, we would probably survive, but there are people who can't do that for a day. uh, you know so yes, there are the more privileged of us who have work from home schedules, who are able to have technology, leverage it, do things to keep our jobs going, our salaries getting paid, and all of that. But there are so many industries which are brick and mortar industries: hospitality, aviation. So people are struggling. The struggle is for real.
Yeah.
When you say that, yes, there is an entire creme de la creme of population which is cushy, comfortable, and I'm talking about myself as well. It comes from a place of privilege. The fact that we have so much going for ourselves, that yeah, we have the ability to make interesting dishes. We have the ability to sit and play games, to have a drink in the evening. And I think what we most need now is to see how we can help those that aren't as privileged,
Right.
those that are probably struggling. So I think while yes, people are happier, it's important to remember at every single point in time that, is there something we can do for somebody else who's probably not as privileged as us?
Right. Out of the industries you mentioned, I'd like to also say the industry which we are trying to work with in the brand Mudra Magic, the weavers industry itself. There are multiple of articles circulating as to how they are feeling ordered. So the small village clusters which we work with, we are ensuring that we are in touch with the master weavers. At all, you know, we need to pay for some weaving families so that later on we can settle that up whenever because they are very, very cheap. So
Yes.
I really respect that value. So I really don't want to push it back. But again, we are working out ways and order now that we can pay them now and they can pay for us later, something like that. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, it's important to remember that, again, those of us that are privileged with jobs, in 3 months from now, if this continues, our jobs will be hit.
right,
Our salaries will be hit. So there is going to be a domino effect, and it's if the lowest are impacted and we are not yet impacted, it's just a wait. Because if this continues, then everybody is going to be hit. Every industry is going to be hit, and how?
yeah,
Jobs. And so it's important to remember, I think, for everybody, that it's globally a unified problem that we're going to have to deal with. Yes, the
yeah,
good news is, after this is over, we will come back, the industries will come back. There will be, a conscious effort to make up for lost time. But I
right,
think the only appeal at that point in time is to remember that this can happen again, and take precautions that are necessary to ensure that we are not only focusing on bottom lines and
yeah,
money and incomes and larger pay packages, but also looking at how can we make the world more sustainable, more peaceful, and how can we collectively help humanity and other species do better, fare better.
right, yeah. That's true. So coming back to your story,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about where you have like how you or your journey as to where you have reached right now, and are you uh, feeling for more as you continue? How does it? How was your initiation in your journey?
I come from a regular Indian family, middle class background. But I had a massive interest for various things like dance. I had an interest for. I was a decent student. I did environmental sciences, which is where my desire for social impact, the environment, to work with that area comes from. I did journalism and media studies, which is where my interest for activism and to be a voice of reason comes from. From then on, I went on to do my master's in mass communications. I worked and studied together. I worked for 3 years and then took a break to do my master's, and I had a full time job with a full time course. I used to go to college in the mornings, go to work in the afternoons. Did that for a couple of years, then got out. And for the last 15 years, 14 plus years now, I have been working in this space of marketing and communications and social impact and CSR and training and gender sensitivity. So a lot of these areas combined together are my work areas. I have the gratitude that I feel immensely for the fact that I've gotten to do everything that I love to do in my life. It's just joy for the fact that the organizations I work with, the people I work with, my bosses, my colleagues, my family, my support systems, all of them enable and empower me to go and do all of the things I can do. And today, if I'm sitting here in conversation, it is because of the role that a lot of these people have played in letting me do all the things that I've always wanted to do.
Right. Any advice? Because I remember reading about one of in one of your posts that you were talking about how underconfident sometimes women get to be because probably that is how we are conditioned. I think yeah, we are. So any advice on how to push back such thoughts when they sort of creep in? Because they are like, because you are an influencer in many of your areas of work. So I'm sure there are a lot of people reading your story, and even one or two positive responses would be actually a big change. So any advice?
So, firstly, the world is always going to be negative about everything. The people around you will start with a no, but why? What is the reason for you to, want to venture into something? Do you think it's the right time? There's always going to be naysayers in our lives. There's always going to be people who are skeptical. But if you believe them, then you're letting your psyche and the universe believe that for you. Versus when you say, I want to do something and I don't care what anybody else says because I'm passionate about it and I want to do it and I'm going to be successful, you will find success. So I think confidence has to come from self belief. As long as you look for confidence outside, as long as you seek validation outside from outside of yourself for what you do, you're always going to be a one lower, a notch lower than what you can be. But if you seek for validation, confidence, and everything to come from within you, you know, we live in a world where it's constantly making you feel insecure, especially as women. Your families make you feel insecure and tell you that you aren't good enough, whether it's as a daughter or as a sister or as a mother or whatever the role that is that you play. There's never enough for everybody. As people at workplaces, as people who are running businesses, women are always dealt with differently. You have to gain a seat at the table. You have to demand. You have to empower and enable and get it, and then make your voice heard. The journey is not easy. At the same time, you have to manage and run everything in the house. So on a daily basis, the struggle is real, and the insecurity that's fed into you is also real. That makes you feel you're never good enough. But who decides what is good enough? I'll take an example of like the fairness cream ads. They always tell you that you aren't good enough, that
Yeah.
that you will not get a job, you will not get a groom, you will not get a and then at home you're constantly told that if you don't learn how to cook, you won't get a good boy. If you don't study well, you won't get a good boy. And then you're told that as a mother you should do this. You're not good enough, you're not spending enough time, you're not. So what you aren't doing, and the fact that you're being made to feel insecure by the media, by people around you all the time, if you let that seep into you, it'll break your confidence. And that's the problem. We allow others to decide our narrative. We never decide our own narrative. To
Right.
quote from a book that me and my co-author Jacinta Jayachandran recently wrote called Words Matter, confidence is where it starts. And if you are not going to be confident about yourself, if confidence has to come from somewhere else, it's not going to. And the biggest thing about confidence is it's not how you look, it's not how you are, it's how you feel about yourself and about who you are within. So you can be your most authentic self. Like right now, I'm stuck in a place where I came for 4 days and I can't get out of here. So I'm in these clothes. I have 4 sets of clothes which I'm rotating and wearing. And if you're going to allow how you look or how you seem define who you are, then you won't manage a single conversation. You won't
Right.
manage to get past those boxes that you've drawn around yourself. The only way to get past those and to actually get out there and get going is to grab every opportunity that comes your way, is to actually feel that you're good enough every single day. And there's something called positive affirmations, which means to say, I'm good enough. I am amazing. I can do this. I will find success. And the more you say that, the more you affirm in who you are truly, you will actually find that success.
Yeah, and also we tend to believe it more. And also, just to add to that book you were saying, I was looking on Amazon to order it and everything. The first thing that struck me about the synopsis or the reviews people have given was that one quote, which says, "A wise girl knows her limits, and a smart girl knows she has none." Something like that.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a wonderful way to put it.
Thank you. That was Jussie, and while we were writing the book, which is where it came from, we said we're going to look at every word that defines who we are and break the gender stereotypes around it and make it gender neutral, because gender neutral language is what gives you equality and equity. So yeah, thank you.
So what's your relationship like with saris or handlooms? When did you start wearing them? Is it like, is it something which you go to share a bit about that, please?
So to me, I got into the corporate workforce very early. I was 21 years old, and I think just 3 months into my role, I was heading the department and I had a team. And I needed to be taken seriously because I became suddenly part of a leadership team, and I realized that, and even now, when people look at me, if I'm not dressed in a sari, I look younger, I probably look more naive. I turned to saris. I would wear my mom's saris all the time when I was young, so I knew how to drape a sari. My mom used to give me her dupattas, and then she had kept some saris aside that I would wear at playtime. So when I started working, I realized that the sari in itself commands a certain level of respect. It adds an air of maturity, as a garment to you. It gives you, so it gave me that little which I felt was lacking. So I had used cases for to prove that when I was dressed a certain way, I was dealt with differently versus when I was wearing a sari, because I think that garment. Yeah, and I also very strongly believe in the fact that androgynous dressing, which is what most of corporate boardroom dressing is, takes away the feminine from you. Black, white, gray suits. I believe that if you can embrace your femininity, and sari thankfully is considered a formal garment everywhere around the world.
Actually,
So when I was 21, I started wearing my mom's cotton saris, and that's when I started collecting different weaves, and that's how I started wearing it. And I think there is something to a sari that makes you very equal to all of the women in the world, in India at least, who wear it, because everybody from a Paura Karmika on the street, to your other sisters in other walks of life, I think everybody drapes a sari, and there's something very humbling about that fact, and about the fact that it's in some form a sisterhood of sorts, that brings saris and weaves together, and it's you're wearing your roots and your culture.
Yeah, right. So that was one of the reasons that me and my mom got into all of this, that we wanted to break the stereotypes. Typically, handlooms, especially in South India, where I've grown up most of my life, they say that handlooms are for creativity. Why are you wearing this? You should wear something thingy, something like that. So that was where I was like, oh, I want to wear sarees, and that is how I started liking it, and somehow I wanted to work with them. So yeah, that's.
No, but it's true, right? Handlooms are good for the planet. Handlooms are made from, and of course, when you look at it, fashion has changed a lot, but even in handlooms, ethically, sustainably sourced handlooms that come actually have direct impact to the weaver and their families, have a direct impact on the planet, have a direct impact. So what you choose to wear and what you choose to buy is as important as any what you choose to eat. If you're an organic eater and eat natural stuff, then it's important to also wear natural, organic fabric, and or handlooms at least, because.
Yeah, and usually, typically, one sari is, you buying one sari is actually helping a whole family of the weaver, because in weaving one sari, it's the wife who prepares the yarns, and then, the man of the house who usually weaves it. So it's like both of them are employed in one sari. Like the whole family, you are basically providing livelihood. That itself is satisfaction.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. So that's where my connection to handlooms comes from.
Okay. And one last question, maybe. What do you think about what Mudra Magic is doing? Any advice for us how to grow in this competitive world? Because we are fairly very simple. We try to keep things, not with any makeup kind of, if I want to put it in the right way. I'm being very open about people. I really sometimes get lost in the competition. So because
So
you are
I keep saying this to brands, to people, to everybody. your most beautiful homecoming is when you're at your best authentic self. You you can never compete because you're always unique. Just as human beings are unique, I keep saying this, the competition has to be with the self. As a brand, is it important to watch competition? Yes, it's good to see what everybody's doing, but it's not important to buckle to what competition is doing and be a me too, you know? This while everybody may be doing stories, your story can be authentic, real, true, and rings true to who you are. It doesn't have to be what everybody else is doing. While the tools and the channels can be similar, the content has to always be authentic and original to who you are and what the vision of the brand stands for. So whatever it is that you're doing, continue doing it, because every voice has a space waiting to be found.
Lovely way to put that. Thank you. So yeah, maybe if you want to end on any nice words to say, or if you actually want, because sometimes during all these few days we are all going through, it kind of hits me that the memory of the human race is surprisingly very short. So
There are a few things that during these times have amused me much. One of them today was one of my friends, very close friends, she posted it today saying, yeah, I know the drama that's going to happen next is everybody saying, oh my God, I miss my quarantine, you know. So I think in terms of the fact that as long as we remember that one, life is short, so go after your dreams, chase your dreams. While you're chasing your dreams, remember everybody else has dreams too. Be kind, be compassionate, be authentic, be real. Um, Also remember that everything you do can impact somebody else, and if you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes, which is the easiest thing to do today, this situation you can put yourself in anybody's shoes because they're all wearing the same shoes. Do
true,
your bit. Do your
right?
bit, because even one drop counts as the water in the ocean. So
Lovely. Thank you so much, Shreya. Thank you for your time.
thank you. Thank you. It
Chat.
was a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Take care.